That's right. Hats on letters. At least some people do this. I had to get into it. So we talked about that unit vector last time. So let's talk a little bit more about this unit vector, but two special unit vectors. Two very special ones, just the horizontal unit vector and the vertical unit vector. So here's our horizontal unit vector, which I call it I hat. Or see the bolded I there? See, I would write it in as this. I hat is equal to 1, 0. It's just our horizontal unit vector. Now, let's say you wanted to go 10 units in the x direction. Couldn't you just multiply 10 by that? Just call it 10, 0. Say move 10 units in the x direction. Yeah, probably could. All right, cool. So, I hat. It's our horizontal unit vector. It's a special one. And if we got a horizontal unit vector, well, we got to have a vertical one too. We got a vertical unit vector right here. Our j hat. Our j hat is just a 0, 1. Just move 1 unit in our vertical direction, or the y direction. And we can take any sort of scalar, multiply it by, and we can go up or down like shit. Let's go -3 times our j hat. And we just bring it in, 0 times anything, 0, and then -3 times 1, that's just -3. We're just saying we could have created some sort of vector. Let's go in this way. So -3. Oops. J hats. Just by moving it down, giving a little multiplication. And then we start getting weird and we sum it all together. And blah, blah, blah. Here we go. That's the beginning. J hat. A very, very special vertical unit vector, and our I hat, the very special unit vector in the horizontal direction. And if we put it all together, we have a new way of writing our vectors. Now let's look at the bottom right here. If we have some vector v, and let's say we have 2 components inside of it. That says v1, v2, those are scalars. Those are just numbers. Let's stick with the 3, 4. I like that. Let's bypass this. Let's just kind of do one of these. Nah, we'll look at that later. Let's just bypass it so we can see what's happening. Let's say it's equal to. It's equal to something times an I hat. And this is kind of the way we're going to write it now. Okay? We're just going to take these two things out. We're going to get 3 I hat plus 4 j hat. Oops. And these right here are equivalent. It's just a different way of writing it. This really breaks down our components a little bit more, where you'll see later like how this is going to be quite useful to write it like this. I don't know if you'll see how useful it is, but it's just another way of writing. It's like 2 different languages. We have the component form that we got used to on the left. And now I'm saying, hey, now we got to get used to something different. And we're going to be writing it with I hats and j hats. Your book does not do a good job of using these I hats and j hats as much as you will probably need it. If you're going to take physics, you're going to see some I hats and j hats, maybe not called I hat, j hat, but maybe with those components. And I know for certain if you're going to be going into calculus, into our vectors where we get into 3 dimensions where there's a k hat as well, yeah, you need to know it. So just a couple different languages. So let's just see, just in practice. Boom. 2, -1. We're going to convert this thing. We just say that this is the same thing as 2 I hats minus j hat. Because that 1, we're not going to write it in there. Let's do another. 7, frowny face. Well, that's equal to 2 I hat plus frowny face j hat. Okay? You're just placing that shit. It's the same stuff. We're just writing it in a different freaking way. I hats and j hats. These things. If you are ever doing anything with an I hat or a j hat besides writing it down, just like you wrote this shit down, that's what they mean from now on. You don't do math with them. If you're squaring an I hat, you're wrong. If you're subtracting a j hat, no. They are frickin' placeholders. Would you be trying to find the square root of the greater than symbol? It's the same shit as you're trying to do anything to these I-hats or J-hats. From now on, I try to give you an understanding back here as to what they are. Right in here, that's the understanding. All right, we're done with understanding now. Now they're just a freaking thing, just like a less than or the greater than, those weird-ass symbols. They are placeholders. Do not square them. Do not involve them in things. That I-hat is not I, like a negative, square root of -1. They are frickin' placeholders telling us that's our horizontal. Sorry, I got a little fired up there. And that's our vertical, okay? This is what matters, is the numbers inside of here. 2 in the -1, the 7 in this. Set it up again, you get 3, -8. Or -3, -8. Let's write that in. You get -3 I-hats. Since that thing's negative, we'll write it as a -8 J-hat. 2 ways of writing it mean the same dang thing. So there's your hats on letters. They're placeholders. I-hat. One more time. Let's summarize this shit. I-hat is like your placeholder for horizontal, like X's. And your J-hat is like a placeholder for vertical components, vertical direction. It's not writing in there like your Y, okay? That's our game. That's our game. Just 2 different ways of writing it. And then we're going to be able to get in and start doing some weird shit. Look at that. There's some sines and cosines. Look at that. We got some I-hats and some J-hats, but that's for next time. I don't want to get into this and screw y'all up. Let's keep this thing short. We'll get it in the next one.